Today I thought it would be interesting to switch things up a bit. Instead of reading wholesome stories with happy endings, I want to dive into some situations where people genuinely don't know if they're in the right or not. So I'm going to be reading stories from the Am I Overreacting subreddit. These are stories where people are genuinely unsure if their reaction to a situation was justified or if they went too far. Some of them are wild, some of them are heartbreaking, and some of them are just a lot. But I think they're all worth reading. And while I'm reading these, I'm just going to relax and tend to my island, maybe do some fishing, talk to my villagers. Sometimes it's nice to just vibe in your Animal Crossing world while processing some drama. Let's get into the first one. Am I overreacting by being upset that my husband told his co-workers I can't cook? I'm a 32-year-old female, and my husband is 35. Last night, we went to his company's holiday party. I was making conversation with some of his co-workers, and one of them mentioned how much my husband talks about takeout. Then another co-worker laughed and said, "Yeah, your husband always jokes about how you can't cook, so you guys eat out every night." I was completely blindsided. I actually do most of the cooking in our house. I meal prep on Sundays. I make dinner probably 5 nights a week. We do get takeout sometimes, but who doesn't? I just smiled and changed the subject, because I didn't want to make a scene at his work event. But on the drive home, I asked him about it. He laughed it off and said he was just making jokes with the guys. He said it was harmless and I was being too sensitive. I told him it was hurtful that he was lying about me to his co-workers and making me look bad. He said I was overreacting, and that it's just guy talk. He said everyone complains about their spouse sometimes, and I should get over it. Now I'm wondering if I'm overreacting. Is this just normal venting that everyone does? Or is it disrespectful to lie about your partner to co-workers? I feel hurt, but maybe I'm being too sensitive about it. Okay, so I don't think this person is overreacting at all. This isn't venting. Venting would be saying, "I wish my spouse would cook more often," or something. This is straight up lying and making her look bad to people she has to face at work events. That's not cool. The comments are pretty unanimous on this one. People are pointing out that he could have just not said anything about her cooking at all. Why was that even a topic of conversation? Someone said their partner brags about their cooking to co-worker, even though it's mediocre, because that's what you do when you love someone. You build them up, not tear them down for laughs. There's this whole thread about how normalising complaints about your spouse to co-workers is toxic behaviour. I completely agree with that. If you have issues in your relationship, talk to your partner or a therapist. Don't trash talk them to people you work with. That just seems like basic respect. But let's read another one and see where this goes. Am I overreacting by refusing to go on a family vacation because they won't accommodate my food allergies? I'm a 26-year-old female, and I have severe food allergies. I'm allergic to shellfish, peanuts and tree nuts. Life-threatening allergic, EpiPen carrying allergic. My family is planning a beach vacation, and they want to rent a house together for a week. The problem is, they've planned the entire trip around seafood. They want to have a big shrimp boil. They want to go to seafood restaurants every night. They want to catch crabs and cook them at the house. When I brought up my allergy, my mum said I could just eat sides or figure something out. She said the whole point of a beach vacation is the seafood, and they're not changing the plans for one person. I told them I didn't feel comfortable being in a house where they're cooking shellfish all week, because cross-contamination is a real risk for me. They said I was being dramatic, and that I could just stay in a different part of the house when they're cooking. I ended up telling them I wouldn't be coming on the vacation. Now my entire family is mad at me. They're saying I'm ruining the family trip and being selfish. My sister called me and said I'm overreacting, and that I should just bring my own food and deal with it. My dad said I'm being too sensitive about my allergies, and that I need to stop making everything about me. Am I overreacting? Should I just suck it up and go on the vacation? Absolutely not. This person is not overreacting even a little bit. We're talking about life-threatening allergies here. This isn't about being picky or difficult. This is about literal survival. The fact that her family is prioritising seafood over her safety is insane to me. They can eat seafood anytime. They can't replace their daughter if she goes into anaphylactic shock. The comments are all supporting the poster on this one. People are pointing out that cross-contamination with shellfish is serious business. Even being in a house where shellfish is being cooked can trigger reactions in some people. Someone shared a story about their friend who had a reaction just from kissing someone who had eaten shellfish hours earlier. That's how serious these allergies can be. There's also a lot of comments pointing out how selfish the family is being. Planning an entire vacation around the one food your family member could literally die from. That's not an accident. That's deliberate exclusion. I feel bad for this poster. That's a really hurtful position to be put in by your own family. But I think they made the right choice by not going. Safety comes first. Let me work on this area a bit while I pull up the next story. Am I overreacting by being upset that my boyfriend has a work wife? I'm a 28-year-old female, and my boyfriend is 30. He's been at his current job for about 2 years. Recently, he's been talking a lot about his co-worker. Let's call her Sarah. At first, I didn't think anything of it. He'd mentioned working on projects with her, or going to lunch with the team. But then he started referring to Sarah as his work wife. He'd say things like, "Oh, my work wife already knows my coffee order," or "My work wife and I have the same sense of humour." It started to bother me, so I brought it up. I told him I was uncomfortable with him calling another woman his wife, even as a joke. He said I was being ridiculous, and that work wife is just a common term for a close co-worker. He said it doesn't mean anything, and I'm being insecure. The thing is, it's not just the term. They text outside of work hours. She sends him memes, and he sends them back. They have inside jokes that I don't understand. Last week, she sent him cookies she baked just because. When I mentioned that it seemed like a lot, he got defensive. He said I was trying to control who he's friends with, and that I need to trust him. He said if I can't handle him having female friends, that's my problem, not his. Now I'm doubting myself. Am I overreacting? Is work wife really just an innocent term, or is my discomfort valid? Okay, so I think this one is a little more nuanced. The term work wife or work husband is definitely a real thing that some people use innocently. But I also think context matters here. Like if you've expressed discomfort and your partner's response is to get defensive instead of reassuring you, that's a red flag. The comments on this post are pretty split. Some people are saying the girlfriend is being insecure and that platonic friendships between men and women are normal and healthy. And like, yes, that's true. But other people are pointing out that the boyfriend's reaction is concerning. Like if your partner expresses discomfort about something, you should at least try to understand where they're coming from. Getting immediately defensive and calling them controlling is not a great response. Someone made a really good point that it's not about the friendship itself. It's about boundaries and respect. If your partner is uncomfortable with something, you should be willing to have a conversation about it and maybe adjust your behaviour, even if you think they're being unreasonable. There's also this whole thread about emotional affairs and how they often start with these kinds of close work friendships. Not saying that's definitely what's happening here, but it's worth considering. I think the poster's gut is telling her something is off, and she should probably trust that. But I don't know. Relationships are complicated. Let me keep working on my island while we read the next one. Am I overreacting by cancelling my wedding after finding my fiancé's Reddit account? I'm a 27-year-old female, and I was supposed to get married in 3 months. Was. Past tense now. Last week, I accidentally discovered my fiancé's Reddit account. I wasn't snooping. He left his laptop open, and I saw Reddit was open to his profile. I probably should have just closed the laptop, but I was curious what he posts about. What I found completely shattered me. He has posts in various subreddits complaining about me, about how I've gained weight since we started dating, about how I'm not as fun as I used to be, about how he's not sure he wants to go through with the wedding, but doesn't know how to get out of it. There was a post asking if it's normal to not be attracted to your partner anymore. Another post about whether he should postpone the wedding. He never mentioned any of this to me. To my face, everything was fine. We were planning our wedding, looking at honeymoon destinations, talking about our future. I confronted him about the posts. He was furious that I'd looked at his Reddit account. He said I violated his privacy, and that Reddit is where he vents anonymously. He said everyone has doubts before a wedding, and I was overreacting. I told him if he's having these kinds of doubts, we shouldn't be getting married. He backtracked and said he didn't mean any of it, that he was just stressed and needed to vent, but I can't get past it. I called off the wedding. My family is split. Some people think I made the right call. Others think I overreacted and that everyone has cold feet. His family is furious with me. They've already paid for things and sent out invitations. Am I overreacting? Should I have tried to work through this? Oh man, this is a tough one. I don't think this person is overreacting at all. Like, yeah, everyone has some doubts before a big life decision. That's normal. But actively posting on Reddit about not being attracted to your partner and trying to figure out how to get out of the wedding, that's not cold feet. That's a genuine problem. The comments are overwhelmingly supportive of the poster's decision. People are pointing out that he wasn't just venting about wedding stress. He was questioning the entire relationship and her physical appearance. That's not something you can just brush off as normal pre-wedding jitters. Someone made a really good point, that if he wanted to work through his doubts, he should have talked to her or a couples therapist. Instead, he was crowdsourcing opinions from strangers on the internet, while pretending everything was fine to her face. That's deceptive. There's also a lot of discussion about the privacy argument. Like, yes, he's entitled to privacy. But when you're posting on a public forum about not wanting to marry your partner, you can't really claim that's private information. And the fact that his first reaction was anger at her for finding it instead of remorse for what he'd written, that tells you everything you need to know. I think this poster dodged a bullet. Better to find this out before the wedding than after. Let me adjust some things here while I queue up another story. Am I overreacting by being upset that my husband gave away my dog? I'm a 34-year-old female, and I've had my dog for 8 years. I got her right after college, and she's been with me through everything. I met my husband 4 years ago. He's never been a huge dog person, but he tolerated her. We got married 2 years ago. Last month, I had to go on a work trip for a week. My husband said he'd take care of the dog while I was gone. When I got home, the dog wasn't there. I asked where she was, and he said he'd given her to his friend, who has a farm. He said the dog would be happier there, with more space to run around. I was in complete shock. I didn't even know how to respond. I called his friend immediately, and he confirmed he had my dog. He said my husband had told him I'd agreed to rehome her. I drove to the farm that same day and got my dog back. When I confronted my husband, he said I was overreacting. He said the dog was getting old and needed more care than we could provide. He said his friend's farm was a better environment. I told him he had no right to give away my dog without even asking me. He said he didn't think it was that big of a deal, and that I care more about the dog than our marriage. We've been fighting about this for weeks now. He thinks I'm being unreasonable. His family is saying I'm choosing a dog over my husband. My family thinks I should divorce him. Am I overreacting? No, absolutely not. This person is not overreacting, even a little bit. This is one of the most clear-cut cases I've read. You don't give away someone's pet without their permission, period. That's not just disrespectful. It's actually probably illegal in most places. The dog is her property. The comments are rightfully furious about this. People are using words like abuse and control, because that's what this is. This is controlling behaviour. He made a massive unilateral decision about something that wasn't his to decide. Someone pointed out that this is a major red flag for future behaviour. Like if he's willing to give away her dog without asking, what else is he willing to do without her input? Move to a different city? Make financial decisions? These are valid concerns. There's also discussion about how he lied to his friend saying she'd agreed to rehome the dog. That's manipulation. He knew what he was doing was wrong, so he lied about it. And the fact that he's doubling down instead of apologising, that's even worse. A lot of people are advising her to seriously reconsider this marriage. I tend to agree. This isn't about choosing a dog over a husband. This is about basic respect and boundaries. If he doesn't respect her enough to ask before giving away her pet of 8 years, that's a fundamental problem. Let me organise some stuff while I pull up the next story. Am I overreacting by uninviting my sister from my wedding because she announced her pregnancy at my engagement party? I'm a 29-year-old female, getting married in 6 months. My sister is 31. We've always had a complicated relationship. She's always been the golden child, and I've always felt like I was in her shadow. Last month, I had my engagement party. About halfway through the party, my sister stood up and announced that she's pregnant with her first child. Everyone immediately shifted their attention to her. People were congratulating her, asking her questions about the baby, when she's due, if she knows the gender yet. The rest of my engagement party became about her pregnancy. I was hurt, but I didn't want to make a scene, so I didn't say anything that night. The next day, I called her and told her I was upset that she'd announced her pregnancy at my event. She said I was being selfish, and that she's excited about her baby. She said she didn't think it was a big deal, and that I should be happy for her. I told her it felt like she was trying to steal my spotlight. She said I was being overdramatic, and that not everything is about me. After thinking about it for a few weeks, I decided to uninvite her from my wedding. I told her that if she couldn't respect my boundaries and my events, she couldn't be part of my wedding. Now my entire family is involved. My parents are saying I'm overreacting and being petty. They're saying I'm tearing the family apart over nothing. My sister is telling everyone that I'm jealous of her pregnancy and that I'm a bridezilla. Some of my extended family members are now saying they won't come to the wedding if my sister isn't invited. Am I overreacting? Should I just let this go and invite her back? Okay, so this is a classic case of someone hijacking another person's event. I don't think the poster is overreacting. Announcing a pregnancy at someone else's engagement party is objectively rude. Like, there are 364 other days of the year she could have chosen. The comments are pretty supportive of the poster. A lot of people are sharing similar stories about family members who always need to be the centre of attention. It's apparently super common. Someone made a good point that the sister could have told the poster privately before the party and asked if it was okay to share the news. That would have been the respectful thing to do. But there's also some nuance here. Some commenters are saying that uninviting her from the wedding might be too extreme. They're suggesting that the poster set very clear boundaries instead. Like, tell the sister she's invited, but if she pulls anything at the wedding, she'll be asked to leave. I can see both sides of this. On one hand, the sister clearly doesn't respect boundaries and has a history of making things about herself. On the other hand, uninviting her from the wedding is going to cause permanent family damage. It's a tough call. I think it depends on their relationship history and whether the poster thinks the sister would actually respect boundaries at the wedding, based on her reaction to being called out about the engagement party. I'm guessing probably not, but I don't know. Family dynamics are messy. Let me work on this section while I read another one. Am I overreacting by breaking up with my girlfriend because she lied about her age? I'm a 28-year-old male, and I just found out my girlfriend of 6 months has been lying about her age. She told me she was 26. Turns out she's actually 34. I found out because we were at a bar, and the bartender asked to see her ID for some reason. I happened to glance at it and saw her birth year. When I asked her about it later, she admitted she'd lied. She said she lied because she thought I wouldn't date her if I knew she was older than me. She said age is just a number, and it shouldn't matter. I broke up with her on the spot, not because of her actual age, but because she lied to me for 6 months. If she could lie about something that basic, what else has she lied about? She thinks I'm overreacting. She's been calling and texting saying we can work through this, and that everyone lies about small things. Her friends are messaging me saying I'm being unreasonable, and that women face ageism in dating. My friends are split. Some think I did the right thing. Others think I'm being too harsh and should give her another chance. Am I overreacting? I don't think this person is overreacting. This isn't really about the age difference. It's about the lie. She lied about a pretty fundamental piece of information about herself for 6 months. That's a long time to maintain a lie. The comments are mostly on the poster's side. People are pointing out that lying about your age isn't a small thing when you're in a relationship. It's part of your identity. Your age affects your life experience, your perspective, your timeline for major life events. It's relevant information. Someone made a good point that if she was worried about ageism in dating, she should have been upfront about her age and dated someone who didn't care. Instead, she chose to lie and build a relationship on a false foundation. That's not fair to either of them. There's also discussion about what else she might be lying about. If she's willing to lie about her age for 6 months, is she lying about other things? Her job? Her past relationships? Her intentions? Once trust is broken, it's really hard to rebuild. Some people are saying he's being too harsh and that everyone deserves a second chance. But I think when someone lies about basic biographical information, that's a pretty significant breach of trust. It's not like she lied about liking his cooking or something. She lied about who she fundamentally is. I think the breakup was justified, but I can see why this is a divisive one. Let me finish up this area and read another story. Am I overreacting by demanding my mother-in-law give back the key to our house? I'm a 31-year-old female, and my husband is 33. We've been married for 3 years. When we bought our house, my mother-in-law asked if she could have a spare key in case of emergencies. We agreed because we thought it made sense to have someone nearby with a key. That was a mistake. She's been using the key to let herself into our house whenever she wants. We've come home multiple times to find her cleaning our house, doing our laundry, reorganizing our kitchen. She says she's just trying to help. Last week was the final straw. My husband and I both work from home sometimes. I was on an important video call with a client when my mother-in-law let herself in. She didn't know I was on a call, and she walked into the room, talking loudly. It was incredibly embarrassing and unprofessional. I asked my husband to get the key back from her. He's been hesitant because he doesn't want to hurt her feelings. I finally called her myself and asked for the key back. She started crying and said I was being cruel and ungrateful. She said she's only trying to help and that I'm being controlling. My husband is now mad at me for making his mum cry. He thinks I overreacted and that we should just ask her to call before coming over instead of taking the key away. His family is saying I'm being unreasonable and that I should appreciate her help. Am I overreacting? Not even close. This person is completely justified in wanting the key back. Having a key for emergencies is one thing. Using it to come over whenever you want without permission is a massive boundary violation. The comments are overwhelmingly on the poster's side. People are pointing out that the mother-in-law isn't helping if her help isn't wanted. She's invading their privacy and disrespecting their space. Someone shared a story about their mother-in-law who did the same thing, and they came home to find her going through their bedroom drawers. That's the natural progression of this behaviour, if it's not stopped. There's a lot of discussion about the husband's role in this. A lot of people are frustrated that he's prioritising his mother's feelings over his wife's comfort and privacy. This is his mum, so it should be his responsibility to set boundaries with her. The fact that he's making his wife be the bad guy is not okay. People are also pointing out that the mother-in-law's reaction, crying and calling her cruel, is manipulative behaviour. She's trying to make the poster feel guilty for setting a perfectly reasonable boundary. I think the poster needs to have a serious conversation with her husband about this. If he can't support her in setting boundaries with his mother, that's a marriage problem, not just a mother-in-law problem. But yeah, she's definitely not overreacting. Get that key back. Let me work on some things while I read one more. Am I overreacting by refusing to split the bill after my friends ordered expensive items? I'm a 25-year-old female, and I went out to dinner with a group of friends last weekend. Before we went, I made it clear that I was on a tight budget. I had just paid rent, and I was trying to save money. When we got to the restaurant, I ordered a salad and water. That's it. My meal was maybe $15. Meanwhile, my friends ordered appetizers, expensive entrees, multiple drinks, and desserts. I figured we'd all pay for our own meals, like we usually do. But when the bill came, one of my friends suggested we split it evenly. The total bill was over $300 for 6 people. If we split it evenly, I'd be paying over $50 for a salad and water. I said I'd prefer to just pay for my own meal. My friends got really upset. They said it's easier to just split the bill evenly, and that I was being cheap. One friend said if I couldn't afford to go out, I shouldn't have come. I ended up just paying for my own meal and leaving. Now the group chat has been really awkward. A couple of friends are saying I made things uncomfortable and that I embarrassed them at the restaurant. Others are saying I was being unreasonable because that's just what you do when you go out with a group. Am I overreacting? Should I have just split the bill? Absolutely not. This person is completely in the right here. She was clear about being on a budget beforehand. She ordered accordingly. She shouldn't have to subsidize everyone else's expensive meals. The comments are very supportive. A lot of people are pointing out that splitting the bill evenly only makes sense if everyone orders similarly. If there's a big discrepancy, you pay for what you ordered. That's just fair. Someone made a really good point that the friends saying if you can't afford to go out, don't come, are being classist and excluding her from social activities because of her financial situation. Real friends would accommodate her budget, not make her feel bad about it. There's also a lot of people sharing similar stories. It seems like this is a super common source of conflict in friend groups. One person said they had a friend who would always order the most expensive things on the menu, and then suggest splitting the bill. They eventually stopped inviting that friend to dinners. I think this poster needs to have a conversation with her friends about financial boundaries. If they can't respect her budget, maybe she needs to suggest different activities that are free or cheaper. True friends won't make you feel bad about your financial situation. But yeah, she definitely didn't overreact. Standing up for yourself financially is important. Alright, let me wrap up what I'm working on here, and we'll do 1 or 2 more stories before we end this. Am I overreacting by cutting off my best friend because she didn't come to my father's funeral? I'm a 30-year-old female, and my father passed away suddenly 3 weeks ago. It's been the hardest time of my life. I'd been best friends with this woman. Let's call her Emma. For over 10 years. We've been through everything together. When my dad died, I called Emma right away. She said all the right things. She said she was there for me, and that she'd help however she could. I sent her the funeral details. The funeral was on a Saturday afternoon. No conflicts, no major travel required. She lives 20 minutes away. The day of the funeral, she didn't show up. I was devastated. I was looking for her face in the crowd, and she just wasn't there. After the funeral, I checked my phone. She'd sent me a text saying she was sorry, but something came up, and she couldn't make it. She said she'd come by my house soon to check on me. I was too emotionally exhausted to respond. A few days later, she texted asking if we could get coffee. I ignored it. A week after that, she called me. I didn't answer. Finally, she showed up at my house. I told her through the door that I didn't want to see her. She asked what was wrong, and I told her I couldn't believe she missed my father's funeral. She said she'd already apologized, and that I was being unreasonable. She said something did come up and she couldn't control it. I asked what was so important that she couldn't come to my father's funeral. She said it was personal, and she didn't want to get into it. I told her we were done, and asked her to leave. She's been trying to reach out, but I've blocked her on everything. My other friends are divided. Some say I'm justified. Others say I'm overreacting, and that I don't know what she was dealing with. Am I overreacting? This is a really tough one. I can see both sides. On one hand, funerals are important. They're one of those life events where you show up for people you care about. The fact that the best friend didn't come and won't explain why is hurtful. On the other hand, we don't know what the best friend was dealing with. Maybe it was a legitimate emergency. Maybe she had a panic attack. Maybe she has trauma around funerals. We just don't know. The comments are really split on this one. A lot of people are saying the poster is justified in being hurt and angry. Your best friend should be there for you during the hardest moments of your life. If she couldn't make it, she should at least explain why. But others are pointing out that the poster is grieving and might not be thinking clearly. They're suggesting she give herself time to process her grief before making permanent decisions about friendships. Someone made a good point that the best friend might have a valid reason but feels too ashamed or embarrassed to share it. Or maybe she's dealing with her own mental health crisis. The fact that she won't explain is frustrating, but it might not be malicious. I think this is one of those situations where both people might be right. The poster is right to feel hurt. The friend might have had a valid reason for not coming, but without communication, they'll never resolve it. I hope they eventually talk it out, when emotions aren't so raw. But I understand why the poster feels betrayed right now. Grief makes everything harder. Let me finish up here and read one last story. Am I overreacting by breaking up with my boyfriend because he posted unflattering photos of me on social media? I'm a 24-year-old female, and my boyfriend is 26. We went on a trip together last month, and he took a lot of photos of me. When we got back, he posted a bunch of them on his social media without asking me first. Some of the photos were really unflattering, like weird angles, caught mid-sentence with my face in a strange expression, looking bloated after meals. I felt embarrassed. I asked him to take them down, and he said I was being vain. He said they were just normal photos, and that I looked fine. I told him I didn't feel comfortable with those photos being public, and I'd appreciate if he'd asked me before posting photos of me in the future. He said I was being controlling, and that he should be able to post whatever he wants on his own social media. Over the next week, he posted more unflattering photos of me. It felt deliberate at that point. I broke up with him. He thinks I'm completely overreacting, and that I'm shallow for caring so much about how I look in photos. His friends are messaging me, saying I'm being ridiculous, and that he dodged a bullet. My friends are supporting my decision, but my mum thinks I overreacted, and that this wasn't a reason to end a relationship. Am I overreacting? I don't think this person is overreacting. This isn't really about the photos themselves. It's about respect and consent. She asked him not to post unflattering photos, and he not only refused to take them down, he posted more. That's dismissive and disrespectful. The comments are on the poster's side. People are pointing out that everyone has the right to control their own image, especially on social media. If your partner asks you not to post certain photos of them, you should respect that. Someone suggested that maybe he was posting unflattering photos on purpose to make her feel insecure. That's a manipulation tactic that some people use to keep their partners from feeling confident enough to leave. I don't know if that's what was happening here, but it's possible. There's also a lot of discussion about how his reaction was the real problem. When she expressed her feelings, he called her vain and controlling, instead of listening to her concerns. That shows a lack of empathy and respect. And the fact that his friends are messaging her, saying he dodged a bullet, that's immature and mean. She's better off without him. I think the breakup was justified. It's not about being shallow or vain. It's about having a partner who respects your boundaries. And he clearly didn't. Alright, that's all the Am I Overreacting stories I have for you today. These were definitely more intense than the positive stories we usually read, but I think they're important too. It's good to think about boundaries and what's reasonable to expect from the people in our lives. A lot of these stories really come down to respect and communication. If you're not sure whether you're overreacting, ask yourself if the other person is respecting your feelings and boundaries. If they're not, you're probably not overreacting. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this, go ahead and subscribe, and maybe take a moment to check in with yourself about your own relationships and boundaries. Make sure the people in your life are treating you with the respect you deserve. Alright, I'm going to keep working on my island. Thanks for hanging out with me. See you next time.